Thinking about leaving your soul sucking 9 to 5 job, one of the biggest struggles I see people, especially as women, face is the idea of having that safety net, that enticing perks and benefits, and listening to that head trash of what will people think if I leave. I totally get it, and I've been where you are. That's why I created a free guide to help you if you're thinking about putting in that notice. It's called Unlocking Your Exit Plan. Discover 5 things you need to do before leaving your 9 to 5. This guide is filled with worksheets and steps so you will have hand holding along the way. You can download your copy in the link in the show notes, and again, it's totally free. Now back to today's episode.
You're listening to the Hello CS Dorsey podcast, your one-stop shop for all things motivating while on your entrepreneur journey. Feeling stuck in your business or don't know where to start? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Listen to some of the leading women in today's industry who have been there before to help guide you on your path. Now, here's your host and self-taught web designer, CS Dorsey.
Hi, Lynda, and welcome to the Hello CS Dorsey podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being on. So go ahead and tell everyone about yourself and what you do.
I've been running an online mastermind for 5 years. I absolutely love doing it. And it's all for women. It's about women taking action, and it's about them, gaining confidence in themselves to ask for their worth, gaining clarity so that when they do speak about what they do, that they're very clear about it and people understand what they do. And then also about gaining focus, because without focus, we tend to, a lot of us have that squirrel syndrome thing where all of a sudden we're off into doing some other tangent. I found myself doing that today. And what's cool is that I've learned, how to bring myself back and recognize that, oh my gosh, I'm way off of focus here. I need to come back. So these are a couple of things that I do with my clients, and I absolutely love helping them through those issues.
Oh, that sounds awesome. So, tell us something about yourself that most people don't know.
Hmm. I don't know if there's really much that most people don't know, because I am an open book. I love to share. I remember somebody would say, they would ask me a question, and I would say, "Do you want to know the real answer?" Because I'm going to tell you the truth, right? And so I think something that's fun about me that I don't really talk a lot about is that I play bass guitar in a rock band.
Wow.
It's so much fun.
For how long?
I've been doing it. Well, I started playing when I was 48. And so how it happened actually is my husband was playing in a rock band, and well, he was playing in a band, not really a rock band, but he would come home from band practices every single week, and he did this for like 10 or 15 years with this one band. And he'd come home from practice every week and he'd say, "Oh my God, the music is so boring. I'm just like bored with it." But I'm like, "Why do you keep going? You've been doing this every week for years, and it's so boring, and you come home complaining about it." He's like, "I'm not complaining, because I like the guys and I love hanging out with them and I love playing music. I just don't like the music we're playing." So I said, "Why don't you, quit that band, teach me how to play bass guitar. Let's start our own rock band." And because he's written over 100 songs. And I said, "Let's play your music." And he said, "Okay." And so he taught me how to play bass guitar. I put a bass guitar in my hand, and it really took off. And it was really funny because I look back at this and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? After 2 weeks, I was like, "Oh my God, we're so good. We need to go get gigs," like after only 2 weeks of playing. And from there, we ended up creating this band called the Useless Rhetoric, is the band's name, Useless Rhetoric. And we've played only charity events. So we've raised close to $200,000 for charity in the last several years. And it's been a blast. I love it. And every time I pick up the bass guitar, I just feel like that's the instrument I was meant to play.
That is so cool.
But
So, okay, so my question is, did you guys ever get a record deal? Did you guys do more of your own records, or did you do more of just the live bands and the live events?
the live thing, I love playing live. I love being in front of a crowd. I played flute from second grade to 12th grade, and I was used to, playing in a band, like a group, and playing in front of an audience, and I loved that applause, right? But better, most important of our band was that we're a charity band. And it's important for us to get in front of a crowd and be able to play benefit concerts and things and just raise money. I love putting on events myself. I've put on over 100 events myself, and a lot of those were these charity events. And I just it fulfills several things for me. I'm a musician deep down inside. I've been playing music since I was in second grade, and love singing since I was a little kid. But I also love putting on events, and I especially love putting on charity events. So by me being in the band, it really fulfilled several different aspects of who I am and really enjoying my life. And that was like coordinating the events, bringing all these bands together, putting on this event, being able to raise money for charity and give them a check at the end, of the day. And it's interesting because it fulfilled so many different things for me, and it made it so, none of it was work, none of it. And I'm saying was right now because we haven't played for about a year together. It's time for us to get the band back together. And but it's really something that fulfills my soul, every aspect of it.
That's really good. I love the fact that you chased after something that fulfill your soul. And, a lot of times we chase after things and it's not fulfilling, but we're looking at a shiny object and a lot of people out there, they're doing things that they don't love, but they're doing it because of money, or they're doing it because, they need to survive, but is not fulfilling their soul. And I love the fact that you actually did it, and it was fulfillment. I mean, even though you guys didn't go to the Grammys or go play out, and known all around the world, but just having that make you happy, and I love that.
Well, I think that's really important for us to discover what actually makes us happy. I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household, and my family, there's 5 kids of us, and we're all singers. And when Dad was home, we weren't allowed to sing because he would get angry, which was unfortunate. But when he wasn't home, that house was filled with music, and I kind of lost sight of that musical aspect after I graduated high school, because I played flute from second to 12th grade. I graduated high school, and I didn't go on to college or anything like that. And I started my work life, had kids. I went through a first marriage, got a divorce after 2 years. I walked out on my first husband. I had 2 babies, a 14-month-old and a 4-week old, so and then I met my current husband a couple years later. And it's interesting how music was part of his life, music was part of my life, but we had never made it as part of our lives together. And it wasn't until I was 48 years old. He and I had been married for, a couple decades by that time, by the time I said, "Hey, let's do something together," you know? And what was cool is that because it was such a big part of my life and a big part of his life, when we brought it together, it was just incredible. I mean, literally, like, there's a saying, you make music together. We literally did,
Mhm.
we made music together. And when we were on stage, people would come to us afterwards and say, "Wow, I can tell that you two have something." A lot of people didn't know we were married because we didn't announce, like, "Hey, we're married," while we're playing. But people were like, "Wow, you guys have something. There's some connection. I can see it on stage." Well, it's because, we love each other, and that transcends through our music when we play together, and you can see it in the way we interact with each other. And it's, even though it's not something that we do for money, because we've only done charity events, we've never taken a dime. We've always donated every single penny out to the charities that we've supported, but it's something that fills both of our soul. And so when you bring that together and you're doing something you absolutely love doing, my thing is, do more of that. Or what are the things that truly make you happy, or truly bring that joy, inside? You can feel it inside of your body. Do more of that. Figure out what it is and do more of it.
I love that. That's awesome. So let's talk about women action takers. So I want to know, when did you decide to do Women Action Takers? What was the process? And how did you come up with the Women Action Takers idea?
I love this question because it was a process. It wasn't something that I came up with like just all of a sudden in one day. I have worked in the corporate world for 36 years. And during those 36 years, I had 49 jobs. So that's a lot of job action, right? Going from
Yes.
job to job to job. One year, I had 8 jobs and I had to keep a spreadsheet. So I made sure I got all of my W 2s, so I could file my taxes. That's how bad it was. I mentioned that because what happened was after the final job, the 49th job, I was working this job, working for a judge in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which was the ultimate job I could have because I was a legal secretary. And I was driving to work one day and I was like, is this all there is? Is this what life is all about? Wow, this kind of sucks. Um, I'm driving to work doing the same thing every day. It's like freaking Groundhog Day. And I'm not really enjoying my work life. So when I got to work that day, I actually saw an email. I mean, sorry, saw a Facebook message, and it was from this woman. And it said, I'm a life coach. I took a little break. I'm coming back and I'm looking for 5 women who want to change their lives. And I was like, I am in. I have got to look at this and do something different. By that time, I was 51 years old. So here I was at 51 years old, to looking for the purpose of my life. Why am I on this planet? What is my purpose? And so I started working with a life coach, and she helped me to discover so many things about myself that I had no idea. Like I used to I used to think I was worthless and that there was no reason for me to be on this planet. I had no value. And a lot of that was because my first husband made sure I knew that I was worthless and I had no value on a daily basis. He would tell me that, how stupid and ignorant I was, right? And so I believed it. And then also, growing up in my family with my abusive dad, there were so many negative things that were thrown at me on a constant, daily basis, that I believed all those things, that no matter how much my current husband told me how brilliant and smart I am, and how amazing I am, I didn't hear him because it was all overshadowed by all that negativity that had come into my life at the beginning of my life. The first 21 years were the most detrimental to my mind. And by hiring this life coach, she helped me to unravel all this. She helped me to see how smart I am. She helped me to see that my current husband is right, that I am a smart woman, that I am brilliant, that I am, brave, that I am smart, and all these things. And what happened was, along that process, after working with my life coach for 5 months, I was driving to work one day and I was like, I'm quitting my job. I'm not fulfilled, like the music where it fulfills me and I go out and I do this music and I'm having a blast and it's like I'm not even working. And my job, I felt like it was drudgery. Every single day, driving to work, I was so unfulfilled that I got to work that day and I actually gave notice, quit my job. And then I came home and I told my husband, by the way, I quit my job today. I'm going to follow my dream and passion of helping people. He's like, what? What does that even mean? And I was like, I don't know what it means. I don't know how I'm going to make any money, but I decided that life is too short and I'm not happy. I was actually miserable driving to that job every day. The job wasn't bad, it was just boring and it wasn't fulfilling. I wasn't utilizing my brain, you know? And so I made that decision and I took an action that day, an action that would forever change my life, right? So I stepped into entrepreneurship from the corporate world after working in the corporate world for 36 years. I stepped into the unknown, had no idea what was ahead of me. But as I started to unravel more and more about myself, more and more about who I am, what my purpose is, what my why is, going to all kinds of seminars and webinars, hiring mentors and coaches, and downloading free programs, downloading paid programs, and working with so many different people along this journey, and having all this discovery about myself, I started to realize that I do have value. I do have something to offer this planet, and it's time for me to step into it. So I tried so many different things at the very, very beginning when I leapt out of corporate world into entrepreneurship. I started 7 different businesses at one time. And I had people be like, "What are you doing? You're doing all these things. You're so confusing." But you know what? It was interesting for me because it didn't matter how much I was confusing other people at the time. What mattered is that I was like the caged bird that had finally had the door opened, and it was time for me to go try everything. Life is too short. I needed to try everything. And it wasn't about who I'm impressing or who I'm doing this for, because I was doing this for me. For the first time in my life, I was making decisions based on the fact that I wanted to live my life with no regrets. And was it crazy? Probably. But was it what I needed to do? Yes. So along this journey of trying all these different things, I finally, after 5 years of trying so many different things, I honed in on the one thing. And this is a mastermind program that it was one of the first of the five. I'm sorry, of the first, those 7 things I tried, the mastermind program was one of the 7. It's the thing I had kept doing all along. While I let this thing go and let that thing go. I was starting, one of the things I was thinking about it actually today. And it was funny because I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? I decided I was going to do destination races where I was going to, you know, have a coach come in and train people on doing like Tough Mudders and doing all these different adventure races and stuff. And we were going to travel the world and we were going to raise money for charity. And oh my gosh, that bombed big time. Like I lost a lot of money on that. I think I lost about $8,000 on that. But that was nothing compared to one of the other things I did, which I decided I was going to do a food festival. I was going to start doing food festivals because I love putting on events. And I put on this food festival called Lemon Zest and Garlic Fest. An amazing name. People loved it. I had 700 people in attendance at my first event, but it rained out. It was crazy. I lost $70,000 for that event. You would think after losing $70,000 that I might, put my tail between my legs and go back to corporate world. But no, I said, whoa, look at what I learned. Look at what I learned not to do. And look at what I learned that did work. So let's keep going forward. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. And I just kept taking action after action after action, moving forward, learning from my failures, but keep learning, moving forward. And what's really cool about it is it taught me a lot about myself, is that when I have a desire and a passion, that I'm going to keep going after it. No matter how many times I fail, no matter how many times I fall flat on my butt, I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to say, that's not a failure. That's a lesson. So along this route, this mastermind program that I have, it's Women Action Takers Mastermind Accountability Program, where I help women, we help them to get track of themselves, right? To stay on track with, focused and stuff. But I changed the name of it many, many times until I finally landed on, you know what? This is all about taking action. Every single thing I've done, no matter how bad it's been, the result has been awful. Only, 10 people show up at an event when I expected 100. No matter how many times I failed, I kept getting up and taking that action. And I realized that nothing happens without our action. You can hope, you can pray, you can manifest, you can believe. But when those things show up in front of your face, if you don't take action and grab them and go after them, nothing is going to happen. So I realized that we need to take action in order to change our lives. And that's what this program is all about. It's about taking the action, the forward movement. Sometimes you'll fall, sometimes you'll fail, and that's okay. Get back up and keep going. And we're here to support you through that. And that's one thing I love about the program, because it's all about the support. We don't all have support in our lives. Like I have an amazing husband that's very supportive. Sometimes he looks at me weird, like, what are you doing now? But it's okay. He still supports me and believes in me. but I know a lot of people don't have that. So those are the people I really, really want to help, is those who don't have that support at home, those who have people that don't believe in them. And I want to help them because I believe in them. I know that whatever is there on their heart, whatever they dream about, whatever they desire, they can have it. But sometimes we need support from outside in order to get what we want.
So, what advice would you tell someone out there to even take that first step? Because that first step is very hard to take. And I know, coming from my own personal experience, I have been in a place where if something didn't work out, I was like, I'm not going to do it anymore, or I don't want to do it anymore. I've done several things, and I'm like, because it's not going the way that I feel that it should go, or it's not going the way that I think that it should go, I'm just like, dead stop. So, what advice could you give someone out there that feel that way and just like, well, it haven't worked before? What makes, me think that it's going to work now? I mean, that's a mindset thing. And my question to you is, what is it that someone could either think to change their mindset or do to take action to change their mindset to say, yes, this is happening?
This happened to me today. This happens on a regular basis, where doubt starts to seep in, right? We're like, I'm going gung ho. I have this great idea. Oh my God, this is so awesome. I'm going to change the world. And then I get out there and I take those first steps, and I'm moving forward. And then things start to slow down. And because they start to slow down, that momentum that we first felt at the beginning, maybe it's not going exactly the path that we thought it would, but maybe it's directing you to something else that you don't know is there yet, right? You might look back in your life a year ago. Where you were a year ago, are you today where you thought you would be? Are you further ahead than you thought you would be? Are you further behind than you thought you would be? we we set goals, and like, we have our dreams and our desires, right, and our passions. We set goals to get there, but it's not always the path that we think we need to take in order to get there. And that's okay, because what I'm doing today, I got to tell you, everything I'm doing today is nothing like I ever imagined 5.5 years ago when I quit my corporate job. Not one single thing that I'm doing today would have been on my trajectory 5 years ago. That's because I've been open to all the different possibilities. So, what do I do when I face those moments? Again, I faced it just today. Just today, I got this inkling of, am I really doing the right thing? Is this the thing that really is going to, make me the money that I want to make, as well as change the lives that I think it's going to change? I've already been changing lives. So why don't I look back and say, look at all the changes I have done. Look at all the people I have helped, you know? And maybe it's just a matter of looking at it, and it's a reality check. Remember when you had the idea. Remember back to that moment, and you're like, oh, I got this great idea. I'm going to change the world. Remember back to that moment, because that moment was your inspirational moment. Something inspired you to grab a hold of whatever it is that you're doing. Whatever it was, go back to that, remember what it was, and then remind yourself, this isn't only about you. So I'll give an example. Like, what if today I said, you know what? My mastermind isn't as far along as I thought it would be by now. I'm just going to give up. I'm going to quit. Well, I already have people already in my program, and I'm already helping them. I've helped a couple people, double and triple their income. So if I'm helping other people do that, and I know that the program is good, why would I quit? My quitting is my own ego getting in the way of what other people need. So if I love what I do, which I do, I absolutely love this mastermind, the visions I have for it of where it's going to be by February of 2022, like, my visions are extremely strong, and I have faith that I'm going to get there. But you know what? It's not happening as fast as I thought it would. But does that mean I should quit? Does that mean I should give up on it? Does that mean I should give up on my true desire? Should I give up on myself? No. So what I do is when I experienced this earlier today, I went through that whole process. I said, remember what it was like when you had the idea initially? Remember what it was like when you talked to the clients that you currently have and they were excited to join? Remember what it was like last week when we were on a call and they were so grateful for me being there for them? Remember those? Don't let my ego get in the way. Keep going. And that was literally the process I went through. It was just like a couple hours ago, 5 or 6 hours ago. I was starting to doubt myself because, again, it's not where I thought it should be by now, but it will keep moving if I keep going. The only time we fail is when we quit on ourselves. And I'm not ready to give up because I know deep down in my soul that this is the program that is going to change the way masterminds are run around the entire world. This is a first of its kind. The way I'm running my masterminds, first of its kind. My coaches think I'm crazy for doing it because I'm investing a lot of my own personal time. The idea about business is to work yourself out of the business, right? So you're not spending all this time in it. But that's what I love. I love spending the time in it. So why would I take that away from myself? So the way I'm operating this program is absolutely, again, it's a crazy way of doing it, but I believe in it. And I know that I'm supposed to be here to change the way masterminds are run. And I can't do that if I quit on myself and I quit on my clients. So remember why you had the idea in the first place. What sparked your interest then? Gain that interest back, gain that spark back, and get back on the path that you know you're supposed to be on. You got this.
I love it. I feel like we should drop the mic.
Drop the mic.
I was like, "Oh, wow, this is really good."
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. It's taken a lot of years for me to get to this point to have this belief in myself because, again, growing up in that abuse, I became a people pleaser and I became a people pleaser. I didn't know this at the time, not until a couple of years ago. I became a people pleaser because of the fear I had. My dad caused so much fear in the household that we had to do, I felt like I had to do whatever I had to do to make dad happy, which translated into all of my relationships later on in life. So for me to get to this point where I'm a positive person, I see making the lemonade out of lemons. You know these this isn't who I used to be. I was not like this 6 years ago. If you met me 6 years ago, you'd meet a completely different person. But I made a conscious decision in my life when I hired that life coach that I was going to change. And I knew that in order to change my life, I had to change. So who I am today is not who I was. And I now, for the first time in my life, I actually love who I am.
That's awesome. That's really good. And to understand and to know that it's not having that mindset and having that mindset shift is not going to happen overnight. It's something
No.
that it's a process. Take a person who wants to quit smoking, for example. I mean, I rarely hear anybody saying that they're going cold turkey and never went back. So it's
Yeah.
one of the things you have to either wean yourself off or say, okay, well, maybe because my mom used to smoke and she actually quit like 20 years ago. So that's how I know this analogy. But it's
Uh-huh.
a process, it's not something that you're going to say, okay, today I'm going to think like this, think positive like this from now on for the rest of my life. But I mean, it's something that you have to work at and you have to work on. And I think that's completely awesome that you over the years have been able to say, okay, I was here, but now I'm here. And you're constantly growing, you're constantly refining yourself, refining your business, and just continual growth. And I think that's really good. And that's something that our listeners people in general need to hear out there, that this is something that's not going to happen overnight. You have to work at it. If you see yourself falling or slipping, you say, okay, I did fall, I did slip. What can I learn from it? Like you said earlier. And I think that's an awesome point. And another thing is, you know, I was thinking when you were saying, talking to yourself, should I be doing this? But think of the people and that really need it, that is looking for something like that, looking for something different, looking for something new that you have to offer. And I think it's amazing the way that you're doing your program, and I'm going to have you talk about it in a moment. And
Good.
I think it's amazing the way that you're doing your program because it's something that I have never heard of. And when you explained to me the last time we had, when we was on your podcast, and I was like, oh, I like that because hear these different masterminds and that's out there that's thousands and thousands of dollars, I would say. But the way that you structured it, I said, that's something that I definitely want to be a part of because I love the way that you structured everything.
Thank you. And I want to touch on the positive mindset. And you're so right. It does not happen overnight. Like you mentioned, the smoking. There are some things we can change overnight, right? But mindset. Here's the thing about it: is think about. I love to use this analogy. Back in the olden days, before there were cars, they had horse and buggy, and the horse and buggy, like in the United States, we have the Wells Fargo stagecoach line. Wells Fargo used to, carry the money from bank to bank across the United States in these stagecoaches. So from the East Coast, they'd come all the way out to the West Coast. And what happened is eventually they would create these ruts in the dirt. So they would, travel on the dirt in these stagecoaches. There would be these ruts in the dirt. And so thinking about our childhood, a lot of our problems, come from our childhood, a lot of them. And so when you have your childhood and you're constantly being berated or beat down or people are making fun of you, you're being bullied and picked on and all these things, that's kind of like the stagecoach running over and over and over this neural pathway in your brain. And so what's happening is it's creating this deep rut, right, of negativity, negativity, negativity. So then when the positivity, like even as an example, those deep ruts are so deep from the like late 1700s, 1800s, 1900s. Here in California, we have some areas where you can see where the stagecoaches ran, and those ruts are still there after decades of rain, snow, sleet, hail, all kinds of weather has washed over them. The ruts are still there. So think about how just because somebody says something positive to you, when you've had all this negativity in your life that is deeply rooted into your brain, it's like throwing some water on top of it, and then the water just washes away, and then the deep red is still there. So what had to happen for me, for example, is I actually ended up surrounding myself with extremely positive people like in the Napoleon Hill uh, arena, people who are, you know, carrying on Napoleon Hill's work. He wrote Think and Grow Rich way back in the early 1900s. So hanging out with these very positive people had a great positive reinforcement in my mind to help me to rid myself of those deep ruts from my childhood. It did take a long time, I'd say probably about, anywhere from a year and a half to 2 years, to where I didn't need their positive influence anymore to see who I really am. I didn't need that reinforcement from the positive people in my life as much because I became my own best cheerleader. I used to be my own worst enemy. Like that's a saying, right? I'm my own worst enemy. So many people say that. What would happen in your life if you could change from being your own worst enemy into your own best cheerleader? It's amazing. It changes everything because just like the example of me saying, I kind of wanted to quit today. But what happened is that was my worst enemy was fighting with me. My cheerleader came by and said, "Wait a minute, hold the horses. You don't know what you're talking about. You got this. You're amazing. You got this. Keep going, girl, because this is not about you. This is about all those people's lives that you want to change. This is about all the people who need you." And so that positivity was not overnight. It took years of that, of positive reinforcement. So what happened, this is what's really interesting, can be scary for some people. It could be exciting for some people, is as I started to change, as I started to go from this negative person, changing to this positive person, the negative influences in my life started to disappear. It wasn't by my choice, it just happened. And I looked back after about maybe a year or so and I said, wow, this person's not in my life anymore. Wow, this person's not in my life anymore either. What's happening here? If I had made a conscious decision to eliminate them from my life, I would have been too scared. But it was a conscious decision that they made. I didn't make the decision, it just happened. And so I bring that up because we have our baggage that we carry throughout our lives. It's time to release that baggage. It's time to let go of the old stories of, having my like when I bring up my childhood now, it's not painful for me because I've gotten through those issues that the so-called like daddy issues, I've gotten through those because I've worked really hard on it. It didn't just happen. I had to work really hard on it. I hired people to help me. I couldn't do this on my own. Impossible.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had the daddy issues as well. It did take a while for me to completely get over it. It's one of them things that I had to understand what he was going through in his mind at the time,
Mm,
the reason why he did certain things. And I said, well, maybe there's something going on that happened in his childhood that he's not telling anyone about. It's like a vicious cycle, you know? So
yeah.
I came to the conclusion that I was like, I'm not going to let my past, my father not being around, I'm not going to let that dictate my future. I'm going to actually take that and let that help my future and, help others to let them know, hey, you had a rough past. Yeah, me too. Let's take over the world together.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
love that, yeah.
Yeah, let's take over the world together. So, I want you to talk about your mastermind program.
Thanks. I love this program. I've been running it for 5 years. I started it, there's a saying, necessity is the mother of invention, right? I had a need that wasn't being met, so I created what I needed. And, I had belonged to a couple of mastermind programs. For those who don't know what a mastermind is, it's, one of the principles of Napoleon Hill, who again wrote, Think and Grow Rich. And it's a book that's like, it's called like the Entrepreneur's Bible. And I belong to several masterminds, which is a gathering of more than two minds, two minds or more. So when you bring two people together, they say 1 + 1 = 11, because what happens is as I say something, CS, you'll hear it and you'll be like, that sparks an idea in you. And then you say something and then I'm like, oh, that sparks an idea in me. And we just kind of go back and forth. So we're basically like masterminding with each other. Some people call it brainstorming, right? So masterminding, I had belonged to several mastermind programs and they were all run pretty much the same way, where we would get together, we'd have 4 or 5 people would be on a call. We talk about our business, we talk about the challenges we have in our business, and then the other people in the mastermind would come up with ideas like, hey, maybe you should try this, or have you thought of trying something like this? Why don't you try it and see if it works, kind of thing. So I'd get all these great ideas and I'd take copious notes, and at the end of the call everybody would say, okay, so what are you going to work on this week? And we would talk about what we were going to work on. I took a note like, this is I would call it my homework assignment that I assigned myself for the week. And then we would all get off the call and we would be done. And then we'd come back to the call next week. And one of the first things we would do is say, okay, who finished what they said they were going to do? And 9 times out of 10, none of us did. None of us finished what we said we were going to do. And I kind of started feeling like, I'm in this mastermind program. Nobody here is really telling me what I absolutely need to do, because I wasn't getting coaching. It was people who were in the program who were kind of guiding each other, saying, try this and see if it works, kind of thing. And I realized that that was a huge problem, because I was going off trying things that weren't working because nobody knew if it was going to work or not. But not only that, most of the time I didn't even do the things that I said I would do because I have squirrel syndrome. I get easily distracted. I go on to the next thing if I'm not remembering the things I need to do. So I created this program. It's called Women Action Takers Mastermind Accountability Program. What we do is I place the accountability portion that I felt was missing tremendously in every single program I've been in. I've been in like 5 or 6 different mastermind programs, and this element was missing in every single one. And that was what I like to call true accountability. So what I decided was that I'm going to gather 10 entrepreneur friends that I have. We're going to get together once a week and we're going to try my new method, of masterminding. So we're going to mastermind for an hour, and then the next 2 hours we're actually going to be together, whether it's online or in person. We're going to be together and we're going to actually work on the things that we said we're going to do. So you can't get away like with running away and doing something different, like doing the dishes, or maybe you got to do laundry, or going off and playing on Facebook, or whatever it is that distracts you. So right then and there, you're committing to getting something done, and you're going to actually do it in that moment. And then at the end of the session, so each session is 3 hours long. At the end of the session, we're all going to come back together. We're going to say, hey, what did you get done? What did you not get done? And then most of the time, 9 times out of 10, this time, my clients actually get done what they said they were going to do. So they walk away from the call, not only having masterminded, not only have being surrounded by these positive, supportive, uplifting women who want to see them succeed and believe in them, but they actually get done the tasks that they knew that they needed to do in order to make progress. They get off the call feeling inspired, and now they're actually done for the week if they want to be. It's up to them. So they've actually made progress every single week. No more getting off the call and being distracted by whatever it is we get distracted by. But no, you're making progress because we are there with you every single week on the calls for 3 hours. It's absolutely amazing. It's all online. I have one of my coaches is actually in New Zealand. And so we're officially global starting March 1st, where I'm launching my program where I have different experts from different fields that can help businesses. I'm launching that starting March 1st, officially global. I'm so excited because eventually this program will be operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we'll have programs running, every single day, 7 days a week. I'm super excited about it because I'm in the process of turning this vision that I have into the reality. And that's what's keeping me going.
I think that's amazing. That is
Thank you.
amazing. Just listening to it. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. And this was in the works because again, necessity is the mother of invention. I created what I needed. I didn't sit there and say, this isn't working, that's not working, and complain and complain, complain. No, I said, this isn't working, that's not working. What can I do to create what I need? And I found that it wasn't only me who needed it. I like Amanda tripled her income in 1 year because of this program, because of the focus, like helping her to gain that clarity. And then once she gained clarity in her business, she was able to have confidence with that clarity. The confidence helped her to ask for higher rates of her clients. And then she was able to focus on exactly what she needed to do in order to grow her business. And so it's exciting to see that happen because she had to go through a lot of mindset changes. We all have to go through mindset changes in order to change who we are and to have more for ourselves. But Amanda had been on government aid for 7 years. She finally got off of government aid after 1 year. It was so rewarding for me to see that this program really, truly works to change your mindset.
That's awesome. That's so amazing. I love to hear the testimony. I see it on your website and I was like, oh my goodness. I love her
Yeah,
testimony. I really do. I think that's awesome.
thank you. Just so funny. She did all the work, but I was there just guiding her along the way. And we talked earlier about, we didn't allude to this, but comfort zone. We all have a comfort zone. No matter who you are, you have a comfort zone. So the question is, are you willing to step outside of your comfort zone? But what makes it easy to step outside of a comfort zone is having somebody on the other side who is pulling you along and saying, I'm going to come with you. I'm not going to like push you out. I don't like to push people outside of their comfort zone. What I like to do is to bring them into mine. And so it's a completely different mental state, right? Instead of them having these fears about stepping outside of that comfort zone, I like to say, you know what, I'm here with you. And not only am I going to help you, I'm going to guide you along the way. And I'm going to be here and I'm going to champion you the whole way. We're going to make it happen. What is it that you need to do in order to have the success you want? Let's make it happen and let's do it together.
It's un it I agree with you because it's understanding that you need someone. You need that accountability. You need someone to help you and guide you along the way. You cannot do this by yourself. And trust me, I have tried so hard to do this alone, but this year I said, Candace, you need help. You need some sort of coach. You need some sort of accountability partner or something. So I definitely have a coach.
Yep.
And I got a accountability partner as well. So we meet every week and it's just brainstorming, talking about our struggles and things like that. And I have found that me talking about it and talking with someone and they're bringing their another perspective and not a Candace perspective has helped me so much and
Hmm.
helped me grow and helped me to stay on this path. So I think that's very, very important.
Yeah, definitely. I always have coaches. Ever since I hired my life coach, that was my first coach, Ever since I've had her, I've always had coaches because I believe in them. We do need to step outside of ourselves, and we really need to find people who are successfully doing what we want to do, because we can ask opinions of people all the time, but if they aren't successfully doing what we want to do, why are we asking them? They don't even know what we're going through, so one of my mentors, he loves to talk about, if you're going to write a book, reach out to someone like Mark Victor Hansen, who, wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul books. Like, he co-authored Chicken Soup for the Soul with Jack Canfield, who, by the way, I've interviewed both of those guys on my show, and I'm excited to push their interviews out. And, it's like, find somebody like them who knows how to do it successfully. Otherwise, we're just asking for opinion. And that means we're going to be trying it. It might not work, and then we've wasted time, we've wasted energy, and we possibly wasted money.
Yeah. Wow. You interviewed them? That's
Yeah.
amazing. Oh my goodness. I've been a fan.
Well, Jack Canfield actually is a fun story. If you don't mind, I'll tell you. I'll tell the quick version, the quick notes version. I was attending this event called City Gala. It was 2 years ago, and it's the Academy Awards after party. And I had asked if I could be on the red carpet interviewing stars, and they said yes. So I'm like, cool. I'm going to be interviewing stars on the red carpet. That's awesome. Well, Jack Canfield was going to be accepting an award that night. So he was there at the event. And when I showed up to the event, it was around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were on a lunch break. And when I walked in, this event had like 400 people that day. When I walked in, there was Jack Canfield and three people talking to him. And so I walked in, I looked at that, and I said, oh my God, there he is. I'm going to ask him for a picture. All I wanted was a picture of me with Jack Canfield. That was my whole goal for the entire day. And so I walked in there, I saw them talking, and I stood patiently. I have a lot of patience. I stood for about 10 minutes watching them, watching every move and listening to them. When are they going to wrap up this conversation so I could get my picture with Jack? Well, he was facing, his back was to me, and the three of them kind of were facing towards me. And it was at the end of their conversation that the three of them walked away, and Jack turned around toward me. And now I was probably about 15 feet away from him. So he turned around towards me and started walking. And he said out loud, I'm hungry. I'm going to go get lunch. And I heard those words and I took that opportunity. I grabbed his arm and I said, hey, Jack, I'm going to take you to lunch. Where do you want to go? Just like that. And he said, okay. So I took Jack Canfield to lunch that day. I had never met him before. I had seen his work. I've read the Success Principles. I've read, some of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. I love what he does. I think he's absolutely amazing. And I took Jack Canfield to lunch. And so the first thing that happened when we showed up for lunch, we sat down at the restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant. And I said, I just want to let you know I'm not here to take anything from you. I just want to be in your presence. And that was all I wanted. I just wanted to be in his presence because I wanted to be surrounded by this person who has changed his whole life around. He grew up in poverty, he grew up in a bad, alcoholic household just like I did. And I wanted to be around this person who had changed their life. And we spent 2 hours at lunch. It was absolutely amazing. It was the best 2 hour lunch I'd ever had. So when we were done with lunch, we walked back, and my friends were like, "Oh my God, you with Jack Canfield? What's going on here?" Which is kind of funny in itself. And then what happened was later that night, Jack was on the red carpet, and I was interviewing stars on the red carpet. So Jack came up, and it was my time to interview him. And he said, "Oh, look, it's my lunch buddy." So that was really cool right there. I was like, he remembered me. And then I interviewed him, and he gave me as a kind of like a little testimonial right there on the red carpet. And it was really, really cool. At the end of the interview, I said, "Jack, tell everybody what you love about me." I just like, okay, if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But he did. And it was cool. So I used that as a little testimonial. And it was cool about that too. Like there were several things that were cool about it. But one of the things that was really cool that I didn't know about is that earlier that day, Jack spoke, and he spoke for about an hour to the audience, and they were doing a charity fundraiser. They raised $14,000 times two, so $28,000 for people to have lunch with Jack. Two people bid $14,000 to have a lunch with Jack. I got lunch for $38.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I got this amazing story. Like it was a fear. Like I have fear of talking to people. But for me to have done that, to just like grab his arm and say, "Okay, I'm going to take you to lunch," was so amazing because all the work I had done on myself mentally, emotionally paid off in that moment, right? Because 3 years before that, I would have put my head down and I would have said, "Oh, I don't want to bother him. I'll just turn around and walk away." That's what I would have done years ago. But now it's like I saw the opportunity and I seized the opportunity. So it's like, how do we shift the way we think into, grabbing those opportunities? They're all around us. We just don't see them.
That's true. It's so funny because when I'm thinking about certain things and I'm like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't, but I'm like, well, Candace, are you gonna die from it? And
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm not gonna die.
Did you die?
I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not gonna die. Well, just do it. And then my mom, she pushes me so much. She's like, just go for it, just do it. And then just to have that person that's in your corner just to push you and just tell you to do it. And like you said earlier, a lot of people don't have that, and that's what they need. They
Yeah.
need someone to just push them and tell them to just go for it. But it's always in the back of my mind, well, what's the worst that's gonna happen? I'm not gonna die.
Hmm.
Or
Right.
that person just say no. It's like, okay, well, I'll just move on to the next person. Could you imagine like how many famous people out there or people who've created startups, how many no's they got? I mean, I know I've read somewhere where the guys that invented the whole Airbnb thing, they got a lot of no's. I think the
Hmm.
person that invented the WhatsApp or something like that, he had a lot of no's. So imagine if those people would have stopped at that first, second, third, or fourth no, then that product or what we use today would not come into being.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
exactly. Like, was it Thomas Edison? He failed 10,000 times. He says, "I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways it didn't work."
right.
So it's just perspective. Like, how are we looking at things? It's really interesting because our mindset, everything starts there, or maybe some of it starts in our heart or our soul and then goes to our mind. But our mindset is really what we need to get control over. Are you going to let your mind control you, or are you going to control your mind? It's really making a decision, a choice on what you're going to do. I find that I used to be very reactionary. So let's use an example of driving down the freeway. Somebody cut me off, and I would get angry, like just kind of have this anger, and realize that that's a reaction. I can choose to react or respond though, because the choice of response is sometimes different. So if we're consciously aware of what we're doing and the actions that we're taking, again, there's that word action, right? If we're consciously aware of the actions that we're taking, then we are responding, we're not reacting. It's the unconscious awareness that we react to things. So if we, in that instance of Jack Canfield, that was actually a reactionary thing that happened, but it happened in a way that it was a good thing that happened. If I had taken time to think about it, I might not have reacted that way
Yeah.
because I would have thought too much about it. One of my mentors, he gave me the four most important words in my entire life, and that was, you think too much.
I
He just
love
said
it.
to me, you think too much. Because I missed a sale. I was helping him to sell some of his programs. He taught me how to sell through selling his program. He's like, if you can't sell my stuff, because I love his stuff. He's like, if you can't sell my stuff, you can't sell your own, because you got to be able to believe in it to sell it. You believe in my program so much, go out there and sell it. And so I did. Well, one day somebody reached out and it was like 10:30 at night. I waited because I wanted to be polite, and I waited until the next morning to reach out to them. They changed their mind. So I told my mentor what happened. And he said, "Why didn't you reach out to them at 10:30 at night when they reached out to you?" "Well, I wanted to wait until the morning." "You think too much." You know, it's like, whoa, we don't have to wait for the right time. There is no right time
That's
except
right.
now. Now is the right time for whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you want in your life. Now is the right time. Tomorrow is not promised. A friend of mine 2 weeks ago, he actually puts on the event City Gala. They raise millions of dollars for charity every, the Academy Awards after party. A week after the Academy Awards after party, his event, he was in a serious car accident and was put into a coma. No day is promised to us. No day is promised. He's still in a coma right now, and we're all praying for him, and we want him to survive. And because he's an amazing guy, he's done so much good work for charities and for changing the world. But no day is promised to us. So we must live our life as if today, this is our last moment.
That's
We
right.
don't know what's promised. Nothing's promised.
That's so true. Oh, that's so sad to hear. And I've been hearing this a lot. I think almost every week or so, I've heard someone that has passed that I knew. And
Yeah.
I said, oh no. I said, I gotta get up. I gotta do something. I gotta keep moving. I can't ponder. I can't question this. I have to do it. And like we talk about, you gotta take action. Okay, so what if it don't work? Okay, move on. Keep doing it, keep trying, finding, refining, doing another way. But eventually something's going to
Yeah.
happen, because if you was to leave today, tomorrow, or right now, would you be happy with your life? Would you be happy with what you've done in your life? And I think about that a lot, and I say, well, I have accomplished, a few things. I haven't accomplished everything that I wanted to, but my mom always remind me and say, "Candace, you've done more things in your life that people dream about, and even though you think that it may not be nothing to you, it's something to someone else, because people are trying to get there where you have already gone." And I have to constantly think about that and remind myself I'm a couple more steps further than where someone that's trying to get to that first step. So I'm like, Candace, appreciate it and teach and show others, share your knowledge. So yeah.
Yeah. You have an awesome mom. That's so great to have somebody like that in your life who is supportive.
Yeah, she's very supportive. Yeah. Now that I've gotten older.
Right, right.
Yeah. Now that I've gotten older, she's been very supportive of everything. I've been like you said earlier, squirrel moments. I've had so many squirrel moments that I don't know what I want to
Mm,
do. I've been all over the place, but once I've gotten really focused this year, I'm like, I love my podcast, love it so much. I love interviewing other women. I love seeing what other women are doing, making that connection and building relationships. I said, my podcast is here forever. It's going to stay here forever. I said, okay, now what's the next thing that I like doing? So I just been trying different things, and I just stopped and settled on, okay, I love my website design because I have people asking me about it. They see my work. So I was like, we're going to stop at this, and then we're going to work on it, refine it, and build it and see what can come out of it. So that's where I'm at now.
Mhm. Yeah, you just keep moving forward, doing the things you love to do, and that's, when my mom passed away, it was about 2 weeks before she passed away. She had, been with my dad for 55 years, and there was that abuse for 55 years. And she said to me, Linda, there's so many things I didn't do in life, and I have so many regrets. Live your life with no regrets. And I was like, whoa, I never thought about that. Make sure you're spending your time doing things you absolutely love. If you don't love doing it, why are you doing it? If you don't love the life you're living right now, you have choices. There's movies, I always think about like fantasizing about these movies that are out there where a person like literally just picks up and moves somewhere else and creates a whole new life. Those are options. Is it scary? Maybe, maybe not. But, it's creating the world you want to create. So what is that you want for your life? You do have options, but this, but that, but my this, but my family, but those buts, they just get in the way. And imagine, I had recently, I'll share this just quickly, is, recently I had decided to kind of ostracize myself from my family, not my husband or daughter or son, but my other family, the family I grew up with, my brothers and sisters. And it was a conscious decision I made because I realized that the negativity that they had was bringing me down. And I couldn't afford emotionally or mentally to be around that right that time, because i had I've been building my base. So I've been building my strength, my base of being able to stand on my own 2 feet and to stand up for myself for the first time in my life. Growing up as a people pleaser, I never stood up for myself because I wanted to make sure everybody else was happy. So because I was building my base, I couldn't be around that negativity because it would bring me back down into my childhood traumas. And so I made a decision and I told them, I said, you know what? For right now, until I'm ready, I can't be around the family. I just can't, because what's happening is every time I get around you guys, I start to feel bad about myself. I start to feel negative about myself, and I can't be there emotionally. And so whether they were causing it or not wasn't the point. The point was that I wasn't able to be around that. And so they didn't like it. They weren't happy about it. But I said, I'm doing this for me. And so I made that decision. And it was right before Christmas of 2018. And so a year went by. It was coming up to Thanksgiving 2019. And I looked at myself and I said, you're strong now. You can handle it. So go ahead and let them know that you're ready to show up for Thanksgiving if they want to have you. Now, my husband had still gone to Christmas dinner with my family last year, but I didn't. I mean, the year before. And so I called him up and I said, you know what? I'm ready. If you guys would like to have me for Thanksgiving, I'd love to be there. And they said yes. And so I showed up and everything was fine. But it was because I stood up for myself for the first time. This is my family. These are the people who, shaped me into who I was. And I had to stand up for them. I had to stand up to them in order to be able to step into who I really am today. And it wasn't until then that I really knew that I was on solid ground and that I could really stand for myself, be who I am, and not worry about what anybody else thinks about me anymore, because I was able to stand up to my family.
It's really good that you recognize that, because a lot of people don't recognize that, or they fail to even recognize that maybe there's something or someone or some people in their life that's poisoning them and creating those negative thoughts or mindset, and then they don't even realize it until, like, maybe if you're not around them for so long, you're thinking to yourself, oh, why am I thinking positive, and then when you get back to the
Yeah.
people around the people, you're like, oh, I see why now. But it's the
Yeah.
truth. It's the truth. You have to surround yourself with people that they don't necessarily have to think like you, but you want to surround yourself with people that are giving you positive thoughts or fueling you with positivity and, giving you that love, I would say, versus poisoning your thoughts and cause you to think negative thoughts and things like that. So I really
Yeah.
applaud you. Yeah, I really do applaud you.
Thank you.
So
It took
any
a lot for me to get there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because you think about it, it's your family. It's the same way with my mom and I. We live in a different city from my family, and it's like a bridge between us. It's kind of like maybe 45-minute drive or so, but it's one
Mhm.
of them things that even though we're here and they're all centralized in that area, we're like, oh, well, maybe we need to hang out with them or whatnot. But sometimes it's like, well, maybe we're here for a reason. Maybe we're not close, like everybody is close in the central location. They can like drive literally a couple of minutes to each other's houses versus us. We're kind of like all the way here. So I'm like, maybe we're far apart for a reason. And it's to recognize that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, any last minute advice you have for our listeners out there?
It's the thing is like, what do you want for your life? You get one shot at this thing that we call life. And, there might be people out there that you look up to and you say, wow, look at them, what they're doing. I wish I was doing that, or I wish I had what they have. You can have what they have. You can do what they're doing. It's just a matter of you finding the path to get there. Sometimes it's a matter of just reaching out to them and asking for advice. And you might be surprised. There's a saying that the most successful people are the most available people. And I found this out because I reached out to somebody who is really well known and asked them if I could interview them. And they were like, yeah, of course. They A lot of times we're scared to reach out to people because of their quote unquote status. You know what? That status is something that we've put on them. They're just regular people. They put their pants on the same as we do. They brush their teeth just like we do, hopefully,
Mhm.
And the thing is that there a lot of them are available. Now some might feel entitled and might not respond, but not all of them. So reach out to those people who are doing what you want to do and find out, how can I do that? What are the steps that I need to take? And then if you're interested in finding out about my mastermind, it's womenactiontakers.com/mm for mastermind. Go check it out and see if it's something that fits for you. It's a program that was created for those who want to find clarity in what they're doing, who want to gain confidence, and who want to focus so that they can get the results that they want.
That's awesome. And we were definitely going to add the links in the show notes. We're also going to add where everyone can find you in the show notes as well. So I am so happy that you were able to join today on today's podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. I was like, yay, it's going to be here. It's
Thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing, and I love how real and raw your podcast is. And I think that's really important today. We don't want a lot of fluff. People are tired of the fluff about people just like sell, sell, sell themselves. And it's about really making these connections and having these great conversations that hopefully are providing some thought provoking content for the people listening.
Definitely. And I said to myself, I said, what is it that I really want in my podcast? And I listen to other people podcasts that I follow but they have like they've been doing it for a while. They have their systems, they have, their sponsors and things like that. And I say, I don't want to have to edit. I mean, no one is perfect. If I say and the then I'm just gonna
Right.
say
Yep.
it. I'm like, I'm a human being, and I said I want to edit as little as possible, and I want this to be a complete conversation. And I want people to understand that you could get a lot of value out of just one conversation that two people are having.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep. Exactly. I love it. Well,
definitely.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed the show today. Remember to subscribe to get the latest episodes and more. Head over to hellocsdorsey.com to subscribe. And remember, nothing is impossible. So make the impossible possible and take action today. We'll see you next time.